Thanks for listening. If you have the voice to empower the birthing world, speak up and reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. Until next time.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Birth Lounge, episode 7, and very grateful for this amazing experience we're about to have today. Wisdom is the word that I can use to describe Ros in all she's about to share. Now, Ros, very blessed because you are the first midwife that we've had to be able to come and have a chat with us. So I'm very grateful for that as well. I think opening up these conversations is just, there's so much vast knowledge from each of the people that we've had share. And, just for everyone listening, Ros a little bit anxious about sharing today as well. First time in the interview setting, and it's not an interview, Ros, it's a conversation. So thank you so much for making time for being here.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Now,
Wisdom, but, we'll have a conversation and we can see where that leads.
Oh, I know there's plenty of it and I can't wait to tap into it. Now, Ros, maybe we'd love to start, for listeners listening in to get to know Ros. Like, who is Ros? What maybe brought you into the world of midwifery, and maybe hear a little bit about your journey.
Sure. So I kind of fell into it really. So I studied general nursing in a hospital when it was not in the university, it was in the hospital. So it was a little while ago. And I come from a Christian background, and I can remember before I was a teenager, listening to somebody, and I grew up in a country town on a farm, and somebody came through and they spoke about, Africa and other countries and, helping people. And that is how I sort of came to study nursing, and with the idea to, sort of waxed and waned a little bit. But then I thought, yeah, I'll do that. And I tried to get into midwifery before going overseas, but, they had plenty of spaces overseas for me to work overseas. So I just left without my midwifery, and then came back and thought, well, actually, I really do need midwifery to be able to, really do grassroots serve in the community. So I did my midwifery. It was kind of a traditional kind of role or job, rather, to do, nursing and midwifery, back then. So I kind of fell into it, not particularly career orientated or focused. I just thought, oh yeah, I'll do this and see where it goes. And it's come here.
Wow. And been a midwife for how many years have you been in midwife?
Over 25.
Wow, fantastic. That's amazing. So, now Ros, now currently, as far as, so you've started a business, right, as a midwife, so you're practicing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that step. I'm curious.
So, I guess there was a couple of different thought processes involved, but a big part of it was I still work in public health part-time, and my private business is just a fledgling business, really. I haven't been in the private side for very long, but having to do more and more with less and less in the public sector, and seeing women who would benefit from this and that, but not even being able to ask them the questions, because that there would be an answer that would take too long for the space of the appointment that you are given with them. Right. So being able to round things out and spend time and listen to women. I've worked predominantly in antenatal, so pregnancy care, and sort of seeing women all the way through their pregnancy, and bringing them to their due date or they're overdue, and feeling like they're not equipped for the birth or parenthood, and there's just thinking I want to be able to give more time and fill in some gaps for them, or just to help set them up to succeed, rather than pick up the pieces or not even be able to pick up the pieces afterwards, because of the gaps in the system.
Yeah. Help me understand, like, Ros, I really appreciate your sharing and knowing that, you've seen, and in no way are we here to say that, there's a problem with the system and there's anything wrong. It's that I understand from what the conversations I've had that people are stretched. It's that,
Sure.
like you said, we've got to do so much more with so much less. When you look at your private practice into moving into that, and those things that you said you want for women, what are they needing more of? What is it that you really feel they're needing more of?
Well, time for a start. So, for a first-time mum in the public system, they might have 7 antenatal appointments at the hospital, and that is the entirety of their care over the 10 months of their pregnancy. They might have an appointment with their GP, and then 7 appointments. And the appointments, if it's with a doctor, it might be 15-20 minutes. If it's with a midwife, if they're low risk with a midwife, it might be a 20-minute, half an hour appointment. So that's 4 hours across the whole of the pregnancy, talking about their concerns, monitoring baby, monitoring mum's blood pressure, all of those things that you have to do, all of those screening tools to make sure that, everything's happening as it should be physically, but really limited to getting into mental health care or, pain resilience training or mindfulness or physical training or, any, extra things. So just being able to sit down with a mum in her own environment and actually chat about the concerns and not be worried about the time, or, try some different things with her about to relieve stress, or to, show her some things that she can do with her partner to build that trust between them, but to, give the comfort in her body and train for the physicality of labour.
Yeah, wow. Actually, Ros,
breastfeeding education, just doing some breastfeeding education beforehand, or if they've had a tough experience with a first baby, going back and looking at that. I would see somebody in the public system, at their first appointment, and we're given an hour and a half for that first appointment, so it's quite involved. It's a lot of exchange of information and talking about medical history, obstetric history, like letting them know about the tests that are coming up, what they're for, getting their consent, answering their questions, concerns, talking about nausea and vomiting or diet, or so it's quite a complex appointment. But sometimes the mum might just say, when we're talking about their obstetric history and their child, they just really want to unpack what happened in the last birth and their fears around that, or they never thought they'd fall pregnant again because of the first experience, and consciously thinking, I want to go there with you and listen, but we've got to tick off A, B, C, D, and we've got to finish all of this and set you up for the rest of your pregnancy, and put you in the right stream of options of care, whether it's with your GP or midwifery group practice or medical or with me here in the community. Or I'd also love to be able to I did some training around helping to relieve the symptoms of trauma, like birth trauma, with some neuro-linguistic programming, and to be able to offer women the opportunity to be relieved of that burden of the symptoms of, stress and insomnia and hypervigilance and, all those triggering things would be, amazing to do as well.
Wow. And I obviously know the answer in my perception of it, but I'd love to hear yours. Why is that important when you look at, the need to alleviate and move through trauma? What do you notice, for women listening in maybe that have experienced and are hearing that? Where does it show up?
Anywhere and everywhere. It can hit you like in the most unexpected moments. If giving birth is very intimate, and if you've had a hard time of birth, or even if somebody else's perception, that the outcome, it might be a brilliant outcome, it might look like a textbook birth, but if there's something that you've experienced during that process or that birthing experience that has taken your agency away or has been, difficult for you, it doesn't matter what it looks like to anybody else on the outside. It's, what it feels like for you. So it can affect your attachment and bonding with your child, with your partner as you recover. And, it can affect your readiness to increase your family if you've already always wanted to have more than one child. For some women, they make a decision, no, I'm not going to have the family that I wanted because I can't do that again. In the birth process itself, if it's unresolved, then it might just add trauma to trauma.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Ros, when it comes to midwifery then, because this I know your awareness, I'm assuming, tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that you're not the only midwife that's thinking like this. Wow, I wish I had more time with them. I wish I could address these things. Is this something globally that you feel is a reality?
We're all busy. We have busy lives.
Yeah.
Which part of the question, which are you saying is a global thing? The thing about time, or the thing about
I guess for midwives to be able to support women at the level that they feel they would love to? Is that a limitation that exists globally, do you think?
Oh, probably. I can't speak for other health systems. I can only speak for my own context. It's always great hearing other midwives and other clinicians as to, how they might be addressing things creatively or different programs that they might be running. But, in the end, it all comes down to, the dollars and the money and as far as running programs in the public health system, because just the budget's tight.
Yeah, understand.
So, and however much we might want to do primary health and deal with things before they become a problem, there's just so many demands on the time and the budget. I'm not an economist. I don't know those problems. But yeah, what seems to me like a no-brainer is like, why do we even have to think about it? If we can sort these things, then improved quality of life for the mum, improved bonding with the baby is going to affect baby's growth and development, their sense of self, their going forward into the future. So I mean, it is huge.
Yeah. So Ros, how has midwifery changed in your career? If you look at when you first got into now, is it that you're doing more with less? Is it that the biggest change?
Yeah, I think we are doing more. I'm not sure if it is a result of me, progressing in my career, or the march of time. The more experience that you get, the more senior you get. You have more responsibilities, which is totally fine. But I think as research progresses, we learn more and think, okay, well, now that we know that it's not ethical to disregard that, how do we incorporate that into our practice to make it best practice and to have better outcomes for women and their families? So even being a private midwife and being able to be Medicare eligible, to be able to prescribe scripts within my scope of practice and to write request forms, that has been something that has grown and has been legislated in 2010. So, that has been, doing more. But, yeah, public and private is a thing. So I have that ability to prescribe in my private practice, but as a public employee, I can't. So, yeah, I can't use that ability to benefit the women within public health.
Got it. Understand.
Do you? I don't.
I don't understand why. I understand what you mean.
Why can't I do this to help women out?
Right.
Why do I have to send them all the way into the hospital or to a GP or wherever to pick up a script that I have the ability to be like, it's legislation. So I'm sure we'll get there in the end, but we're not there at the moment. So those are two, discrete, separate areas.
Right. Have midwives become more empowered, would you say?
I think so. Yeah. Maybe more and less. I'm sure there'll be some midwives who that generation ahead of me who, I know a midwife who actually she was trained in doing forceps, which is, midwives don't do that now, but they're so that's a mixed bag, that one.
I understand.
yes to doing more, but there's certainly a lot more paperwork as well, and documentation and managerial things as well that
Right.
maybe take away from the
Right.
I don't know if I've lost the
No, that's okay. It's wonderful. I'm asking questions because I'm really curious. You know, I look at the world of midwifery and I research a lot on midwives, and you know, it's something that dates back, as you know, and the history of midwifery is amazing. How has birth changed in your career from 20, you know, in the last 25 years as a midwife? How has birth changed?
It's a little bit tricky for me to answer that one because I don't work in my public sector. I don't work primarily in the delivery suite. So I worked either side, but not I certainly have delivered babies. You can't be a midwife without you know, passing, ticking those things off the box. So but so how the delivery room actually looks and feels, other midwives would be able to answer that question better. But I think there's probably more surveillance and more intervention.
Right.
And you know, some of those things are certainly, I was going to say necessary, but I'm not sure that that's the right word. The medical side and the intervention side is there for a reason, and it does, you know, it does save lives, and it does save, you know, babies and mums, but sometimes we can be overmanaged or over, you know, I think sometimes some doctors have lost the confidence in waiting and, you know, keeping your hands off and observing, and they would rather an outcome of having a baby now and having that situation or whatever resolved than calling it at a later time.
Understand.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I can read between the lines as well. I appreciate the insight. When it comes to, you know, I
certainly don't want to put down my obstetric colleagues. You know, I couldn't do their job. So, and you know, for me to practice safely, I need them to be there.
Yeah, and understand. I mean, my observations, you know, and what I see, it's that when they're all working together in sync, it's a beautiful thing for birth. You know, I think when there's a power play at hand, that's when you have challenges, right? So that's what I've noticed in the limited experience that I have, Ros. But I guess for you then, what is it you want for women? What is it you would, you know, as a midwife? I mean, you are really there. And now I love that you've shared of moving into private practice for the reasons that you want to give more to them. What is it you really want for women?
Just to have the knowledge and the information to make the decisions that are right for them. So that I kind of at times feel like I'm a broker of information. So, this is your concern, then, you know, I'd really recommend this or that, or let's try doing this, or, really, have you thought about X? Or, you know, or just, you know, letting them know how their body works can be, you know, a revelation. Helping them or giving the power back to them so that they can make the decision that's right for them. And for some women, that might be, I want to have a cesarean. That's fine. Or I don't want this, or I do want that. And my job is to give them the information so that, and it might be information that they don't want to hear, or it might be outside of what they want to listen to. But I'd say, well, it's just information. You can take it or leave it. That's fine. But I'm obligated to give you the information so that you can make an informed choice. And here's other places that you can read, or whatever that's from a reliable source. But just helping women, I guess, to have the power back. If you can affect a woman in a positive way, I know that you can in a negative way as well, but if you have, the woman feeling well and healthy and happy with where she's at, with her choices, that is going to affect the rest of her family.
Yeah.
Okay? If you're talking about and swapping out some of the unhealthy choices with healthy choices, that woman might well be doing the shopping for her family, the cooking for her family, and it will affect her family's health if she's making healthier choices for the family. So talking around immunisations, for example, and how they work, and whether they're perfect or imperfect, or whether you can catch the disease from the immunisation, or just providing fuller information for them so they can understand a little better about yes, I do want that, or no, I don't want that. But then at least they've got the information to go with it.
So the information is giving them the power to make choice.
Yeah, or more informed choice, I guess.
Yeah, well said. Wonderful.
A lot of the times, and again, this isn't a negative. I don't want it to be perceived as a negative towards doctors, but a woman might go to her GP to confirm her pregnancy, and the GP, who's only got a 10-minute appointment time slot to see the woman, would say, here, go and have these bloods done. And the woman would, okay, I'll go and do that. And then I'm seeing them at the next appointment, and has the doctor discussed the results with you? No, not yet. Or yes, he said they were all fine. Do you know what tests you had? Like, they don't even know what tests they've had, because the doctor hasn't had time to explain, these are the tests, these are why we recommend them. Is that what you would like? So, yeah.
And Ros, do you attend home births?
I don't, no.
Okay. Have never done? I was just curious.
Have I ever done? I don't think I have actually ever attended a home birth. No.
Right. Okay. I was just curious. That's all.
I would like to, but I'm not a home birthing midwife.
Yeah.
Because I'm still, my public job is still my bread and butter at the moment, while I'm sort of building a business, and it's only part-time, but I have regular shifts, so it would be unfair of me to take on a woman who wants a home birth when it's a conflict of interest, because I can't be on call for the woman who could have a baby at not a given time. So yes, I'm not a home birthing private midwife. No.
I understand. I was just asking from curiosity. No,
of course. So but it is really nice seeing women antenatally and like I'm talking with my hands and feeling that baby and feeling that baby grow, and then having like the women that I've seen so far have the birthed in hospital, and then coming home and meeting that baby and weighing that baby and seeing that baby grow, it's just delightful.
Wow.
Yes.
What's your most memorable? You don't have to give their name, obviously, but I'm just curious. What would maybe in your career, most memorable experience when it comes to birth or meeting that person prenatally? And
I'm not sure that I can answer that one. Like it's nice seeing, so because I have worked so long in the public system, and in one particular, I run a community clinic as part of the hospital, so the women don't have to travel into the hospital. I think I've seen women through 3 pregnancies.
oh wow,
seeing their children as they come along with the pregnancy. So that's really nice.
yeah.
And then the setting that I work in is part of a children's centre as well. So there's other services there for children. So speeches and occupational therapists. So linking families into those services if they need them for their kids as they're getting older.
And Ros, tell me more about the community centre, because that's something I'm not aware of.
So it's I guess it's part of the public health way that the hospital that I work for does some of their clinics is they have the instead of all the women coming into the hospital, the midwives go out and spend a day each week out in the community. So would see women right from their first appointment when they're maybe 10, 11, 12 weeks, whenever they make their appointment, to when they're overdue, and organise their induction. So they've got an endpoint to aim towards if baby hasn't made an entrance before then. So yeah, and that's been quite satisfying. Again, in that setting, there's only just that amount of time because then the next person is going to be there and the next person. So yeah, it's nice of that other side of things, being able to spend in the private side, being able to spend more time and being able to link women with things like optimal maternal positioning, because I say, what do I need to do to prepare, what's out there? And I said, well, here's the classes at the hospital, you can do that, or there's, various hypnobirthing classes around, or which can be quite, it can be beyond the means of some mums. So but being able to link in with those is good.
Amazing. Now, Ros, I picked up on something before. Studier of NLP. I did many years ago.
Okay.
All of that. So I heard that. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. For me, knowing how important communication is, I'm curious in the birthing world, how important is it to you? I mean, the fact you learnt that as a skill, when did you learn?
So I only learnt that maybe, I think it's 2 years or so ago. I went to London actually to do a course, and it was specifically around birth rewind. So I know that NLP is neuro-linguistic programming is used in a lot of other different contexts like life coaching and obtaining goals with a personal, professional, financial, whatever, around self-talk and all that kind of stuff. But this course was specifically directed towards using it to shift troubling memories of birth.
Birth. Wow. I didn't realize there was anything specifically for birth. I'm curious to know more about this, Ros.
Well, it is really interesting. So it has been used really successfully for returning soldiers with PTSD, where they'd go to a group session maybe and could become re-traumatized by hearing their mates' experiences. So it's a process by which the memory that's been triggered, is close to the surface, and the amygdala, the fight or flight, is sort of being stimulated. So it's a process by which that memory is refiled deeper in the brain, so it's not triggering the amygdala and the fight or flight response. So I've done it, I guess, with a few people so far. Of course, there's not the capacity to offer it in the public health system, so I've just done it with some family and friends with really good results.
Wow.
That's quite, as part of the process, I had to submit myself to it as well. So the memory that I was working on wasn't a birth memory. But it was really interesting. It was a really interesting sensation or reflection afterwards, thinking, well, I know before I did it's called a rewinding the memory. Before I did the rewind, I would sit, and if I started to think about that particular situation, I'd be able to start to feel it in my body. I'd start to, get either angry or anxious, or, when you're thinking about something that's bothered you, you can feel it in your body. For some people who've had a really difficult experience, they, and if they're subjected to it again, or something, sets it off, they just go into that. You can see it come over them, the effect in their body. And then afterwards, I didn't feel an immediate effect, but when I came back, because I did the course overseas, when I came back, and a couple of weeks later, when there's an event that would have triggered, for want of a better word, those feelings to arise in me, and I was expecting it to happen, I thought, it's not there. Like, it had just dissipated, and it was a non-issue. So to be able to have that for women, or their partners as well, for that matter, from after a difficult experience, is amazing. But you actually mentioned, you were asking about, words and communication during birth, or during the process. So it's definitely a big thing, and being kind, I think, is a big thing as well. Just using your words kindly and compassionately, and even if you say the wrong word, if your tone and your expression is kind, then I think the word is more likely to be taken with kindness rather than with harm.
Beautiful.
Words are words. They're powerful. You can't, once they leave your mouth, you can't back, which is probably one of the reasons why I was hesitating chatting with you. They're certainly powerful things.
I'm so glad you said that. I think kindness goes a long way, and from what I've discovered in the birthing world as well, one of the biggest challenges is that sometimes those words are said maybe in jest. And I think from what I understand, I don't know your thoughts on this, but it's like sometimes there's a lack of empathy.
Yeah. And
that lack of empathy means that if we're so busy, right, we've all been in that moment, human beings, where we say something.
Sure.
Right? So when it comes to kindness, I love that you shared this as well. Like, this has sort of opened up a whole nother conversation.
Somebody could say something that is totally fine, but you can receive it like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Because it's not the words, it's the tone that is come across as well. So kindness and empathy, I think, are really, they're important.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, I interrupted you, sorry.
No. You've taken me on a whole nother place I'm just thinking of, so I really appreciate that as well. I guess when it comes to kindness, and this, I just want to honour you first, Ros, because this is what I love, is that, some people become in a career, and the word's not, I don't want to use the word stale, but they're just doing their job, right? Like they just, but for you, you went out and you found other ways and other tools and other means to serve and support women. I want to honour you for that. I think that's really something that maybe people forget. What would be your advice for other midwives? You've taken this is quite a courageous step, in my opinion, because there's a lot of safety and, in certainty in the public system in what you do. And you've also taken this step. That's not an easy step. I don't know if you probably appreciate the level of which that
I know. I'm aware that it's not easy.
Yeah. And then I guess that act of courage was purposeful, because when I asked you the question, it's about having more time with women like this. It's not, because there's more money to be made here. It's a pure thought. It's that there's something pure in, I have more time with women, and therefore I'm going to go learn all these other skills that you've been learning. What's your advice for, midwives that are maybe at that point in their career as well? I mean, how were you able to take this courageous step? I'm really curious.
I guess I have never been particularly financially motivated. So although it is important, it is important to me, or not being particularly career motivated, although I guess going out as a private midwife is certainly a career step, and I guess I'm feeling it more as a person towards the end of my career than the beginning of my career, thinking, well, if I don't try it now, like I've done the extra training, if I don't go out in private practice, then I'll retire wondering, not that I'm about to retire, but if I don't do it now, then I'll never do it. And then do I really want to be doing the same old for the next 10, 15 years of my career? So I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I mean, there are things that certainly can be lost, but I just thought I'd give it a whirl, see what happens, and go step by step, and see. So
that's awesome. And I'm really highlighting how much I honour that, because I know it's it's a big step for you. You're out on the skinny branches with your Instagram and everything. You're really putting yourself out there. I really honour that.
Social media is so not my forte, but there's a lot of things that I'm learning as a new business owner, and social media is one of those.
Wow.
And how to get more and more out of my phone, which is now seemingly forever attached to my hand, which was severe to me, who had a little brick Nokia for quite some time.
What I love, Ros, is for any international listeners, on one of the other calls we had, Kate said, give it a burl. And then I just heard you say, give it a whirl. So for international visitors, I just have to explain. That's Australian for, I'm going in there and I'm going to have a shot at it. That's wonderful. So thank you for bringing me back. Now, Ros, what would be your advice for mothers that have they're listening into this and they've just found out that, they're having a baby and they're first timers, or maybe the advice you'd also give to second timers? What would be your advice for them?
Oh, I'd congratulate them and, do what works for you. Ask lots of questions, get lots of information, prepare. If you can, find a familiar face to go with you through the journey, whether it's a doula or a private midwife, or if you're in a public midwifery group practice program, or if you've got a student midwife who can, come with you to appointments and be on call for the birth, and come and visit you at home. That'll be fantastic. So you've got that familiar face. That's something that I've actually, because I can't offer a full continuity service, I've been working with a student midwife who has, with the woman's consent, obviously, who've come along to pregnancy appointments. They've been on call to go in and be with the woman as she births a baby, and has been with me at postnatal appointments as well, and that's been just so lovely. Don't be scared to get information. Ignorance might be bliss, but more often than not, it's not bliss. There are, you look back and think, oh, I wish I had read this or looked at that, or been more physical, or changed my diet, or ask questions. Always ask questions. So, and I think I was listening to some of your interviews last night, and there's I can't remember who used the acronym, but I use it with everybody as well. BRAIN. Use that acronym to talk with people. So if it's the doctors, the midwives, whoever, benefits. What are the benefits in what you're proposing? Excellent. I need to know what it's good for. What are the risks involved with what it is? Are there any? What are they? What are the alternatives? If I can get to that same objective, but going at a different route, that actually I like this way better. Can I go this way? Sure. If it gets to the same objective. So what are the alternatives? Intuition. What does your instinct, what does your heart say about if this is right for you in your situation, your body, your baby? And nothing. What happens if we do nothing? Can we wait? How long can we wait for? Oh, if we do nothing, this might happen. I don't like that alternative. Yes, you'll give me more information to, to make the decision that you're talking to me about. So, even if you end up making the decision that is recommended for you, at least you've prompted the person who might have told this same information package to 10 other people in the same day, and they've forgotten that you've never heard this information. You've prompted them to be more complete in the information that they're giving you, so that you can decide what's right for you.
Oh, That was
question.
so insightful just now. And what a great piece of advice. I mean, we don't know what we don't know, yet the context that you just give it in helps us see why it's important to know. I love that, Ros.
So, there's a bakery across the road. I want a donut. What are the benefits? What are the risks? Well, I might get run over while I'm crossing the road.
Yeah.
There might be more kilos that then I'd have to take off. What are the alternatives? Maybe I can have a piece of fruit.
Yeah.
My instincts say, oh, I really want a donut. What happens if I don't know. It can be applied to any area of life.
Fantastic.
It's really important in the medical, paramedical setting when you don't have a lot of necessarily information about your body and its workings, and this precious baby that you're carrying, you feel like you are at the mercy of the medical professionals, and that can be me included, other people having the information, but you need the information to make the decision that's right for you. We don't own you. We don't own your body. You have agency over your body and your baby. So ask questions so that you can be involved in the process and make the decisions that's right for you and your family.
Oh, that's wonderful.
If you're uncomfortable and you're saying, no, I really don't want that, then you can research, get more information so you can be armed with the research to say, no, I don't want that, and I'd like to wait this amount of time, or I'm happy to take my chances because I really don't like that.
Yeah.
With the knowledge.
Wow, that's brilliant. Ros, that was so insightful. Now, I really appreciate all your time. And, I love that you just said yes to this. I know how anxious you were before we got on this call as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for that. I can't wait to listen back. I always tap into so much wisdom when I listen back to the call as well. And for people listening in as well, I guess I would love for them to have the opportunity of connecting with you somehow. How do people find you, Ros?
Well, that's social media. Gotta love it.
Of course, you got the phone in your hand all the time, right? So you're always there.
So I have a web page, W's hellobabymidwifery.com.au, and that's my Insta and my Facebook as well, is Hello Baby Midwifery. And my name's Ros.
Wonderful. And I'll put all the details down below for those that are listening in as well. Ros, thank you so much. I want to just highlight to everybody listening as well. I've had some email conversations. This is my first time really meeting Ros in person, even though it's virtually. What I love is in the email conversations, Ros was a little anxious of coming on. However, one thing I remind of is 25 years in this amazing career. There's so much that you have to give. And I know there's so much that you have given. And that's why I wanted to understand that. And I think you've done a wonderful job of that, Ros. I really do. For anyone listening in, please go and check out what Ros does in the world of birth, because she truly is genuine, authentic, embracing all new things that are social media and Zoom calls. So I want to honor you for that. I want to thank you for that. And one thing I wanted to really highlight, I said it before, but I think it's so awesome that you have taken this giant leap that seems like maybe a small step to some, but I know to you, Ros, it's quite a big thing, because I know the impact that will have with that experience and wisdom, plus what you've captured in all the new things that you're learning and having the time then to spend with women. That will make a huge difference to the lives of so many. And I just want to remind you of that, Ros. I think that sometimes we get caught up in the day-to-day. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. And if I can give women the confidence to go and do their thing and do it boldly, whether it's in the delivery room or, whether it's having a cesarean, whether it's, breastfeeding and having the confidence to, I'll do one more day, I'll do one more week, I'll, just having that confidence and that support, or being that touchstone, is such a privilege, actually. So,
Ros, thank you so much. And Adelaide based, correct?
yes, that's right.
Wonderful.
Thank you for the plug.
Whereabouts in the world of Adelaide are you?
So near Glenelg.
Oh, beautiful spot. What an amazing part of the world. Wow.
Yeah, Adelaide is very nice. I mean, Adelaide is a nice place. I haven't been to Perth, but I hear it's quite similar to Perth.
Yes, I think we both get a bit of a bad rap as states and cities in Australia, don't we? The best kept secrets, but we won't say that to our New South Wales friends. Wonderful. Ros, once again, thank you so much for your precious time. Really, really appreciate it. As I said to everyone, just have a look at the links below. Please get in touch with Ros and give her the support and honour this amazing woman for all she's doing for the world of birth. Ros, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It'd be lovely to work with you.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. If you have the voice to empower the birthing world, speak up and reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. Until next time.